If you have a smart device, you most likely have used a voice assistant. For Apple users, there's Siri. Microsoft has Cortana, Amazon has Alexa, and Google has Google Assistant. Now all these voices are female by default, and for a while there really wasn't an option to change to a different type of voice. Recently, some of these assistants added a male voice option. Just a few days ago, I noticed that my Google Assistant added that option in. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm indifferent as to what type of voice my assistant has. Whether the voice is male or female is of no importance to me. What is important is what the assistant is actually telling me. As long as the GPS is taking me to the right place, I'm getting reminders at the time I want to get them, and I get my questions answered accurately, then I really couldn't care less if the voice that's telling me these things is feminine or masculine. But just out of curiosity, I wanted to see what other people thought about it. Do other people prefer a male voice or female voice for their assistant? When doing a Google search on it, I came across a few things that I wanted to talk about. Get a load of this comment.
The default female voice for Google Assistant in Google Maps shows Google defaults to male privilege. Come on, it is 2017.
Okay, how is the voice being female indicative of male privilege? She says, come on, it's 2017. Yeah, it's 2017. Apparently, it's the year where every little minor thing in the world is somehow male privilege. And this was even marked as the best answer. Well, I still have a question that needs answering. Why do you say this is male privilege? It makes no sense. I mean, women use smartphones and voice assistants too. I honestly just don't get it. This person gives no explanation whatsoever about how it's male privilege. We're supposed to just take her word for it. I tried looking at other comments on here to see if I can get some sort of explanation on it. And the closest thing I found was this comment by Jizz.
I think this should be brought up and changed quickly. Not be so accepting that a female is an assistant.
As if to imply that being an assistant is not a good thing for some reason. But just think, what if all these voice assistants had male voices by default? These people would still say it's male privilege. They would say, oh, I guess only men have a voice. Or, of course the voice is male because nobody would take a female voice seriously. Or, nobody would trust what a female says. This misogynistic society only trusts male voices. That's exactly what they would say. You really can't win with these people. To them, a female voice is male privilege, and a male voice would also be male privilege. Meanwhile, it's just a robotic assistant that's only trying to make your life easier. But they still manage to find something to complain about. Look, if you want to have the option to change the voice, that's all well and good. Having options is great. But to say that it's male privilege that the voices were female is just asinine. Here are a couple of articles I found on this topic. Links to these articles will be in the description. This article talks about how we tend to prefer a certain voice depending on the subject matter in question. But I want to talk about this part right here.
It might be easy to think that female AI voices have been the go-to because of sexism. Lots of men in leadership and developer roles at Silicon Valley. And that may be at play.
What does the industry being male-dominated have to do with the assistants having a female voice? What's the connection? And why is it okay to say that anything that is male-dominated must be sexist? You're basically saying men are sexist just for being men, which is sexist. If you were to flip that around and take a female-dominated field and say there was sexism there simply because it's female-dominated, that would be blasphemy. Here's another article entitled, "You've Got Mail. Google finally realizes that voice assistants don't have to be female." Now, in reading that title, it almost seems like this article is going to say that it was sexist that male voices had been excluded, and it's about time that male voices had fair representation. But I've lived on this earth long enough to know that nobody considers how something would be sexist against men. According to many, sexism against men doesn't even exist. And of course, this article is no different.
In a world full of aggravations, one of the more subtly frustrating grievances is that every single smart device has a female digital assistant. Apple has Siri, Microsoft's Cortana is voiced by a woman, and Alexa skews female too. Google's assistant defaults to a woman's voice as well, but they have just finally added a male version. According to Android Police, Google has gifted the robotic voice with the genderless title of Voice 2, because gender is a construct.
And there it is. The moment you read that part, you know they are going to cry sexism, but not against men, oh no, against women. The rest of this article talks about how you actually change the voice setting, and the very last paragraph goes like this.
As for why the assistants all default to female, according to 2 studies recently cited by the Wall Street Journal, men and women prefer a female voice assistant because they believe it's more welcoming and understanding. It probably helps that they only have to pay them 80 cents for every dollar they pay the male one.
And of course, they throw in the already debunked wage gap lie, even though it's both inaccurate and irrelevant. You don't pay your voice assistant any amount of money, whether the voice is male or female. Do you get a cheaper phone bill when you set your assistant to the female voice? No, you don't. So why they felt the need to add that in the article makes no sense. These people are trying to find sexism in something that isn't even sexist. If that's what you're going to do, you should at least consider the role reversal, or how it could be sexist to men. But nobody really does that. They'll shout out terms like male privilege all day long, but they never stop to think that they'd say the very same thing even in the opposite situation. When all you had were female voice assistants, one could argue that's sexism against men because it's their voices that were being excluded. But that thought would never cross their narrow minds. No matter what the situation, it's male privilege and misogyny either way. You can never win with these people.